of shadows.
Angels, it's Hailey Reese and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited that you guys are here and I hope that you are having an absolutely fantastic morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you when this video finally reaches you. You guys, today's video is one that I just know is going to freak me out. I have said it so many times here on my channel, but I'll reiterate it again because why the heck not? Despite having grown up in a haunted house and having had tons of really creepy, unsettling paranormal experiences, nothing, and I mean nothing, terrifies me more than what some people within the human race are capable of. Like, I could literally watch horror movies about the paranormal all day long, but the minute that I watch a really well done, super disturbingly realistic movie about like a home invasion or kidnapping, that is what irks me and creeps me out and terrifies me down to my soul. So with that being said, today where I am is a super gloomy, eerie day. It's one of those days where you kind of are in the mood to freak yourself out. And so I figured what better day than today to read 3 terrifying, creepy, unsettling home invasion encounters. I know, for somebody who's afraid of like home invasions and kidnappings and the dark side of the human race, what a topic to cover, but here we are. Before we get into today's video though, I would just very quickly like to thank today's video sponsor, Pop. So if you guys have been on my channel for a while, you guys would know that I have 2 fur babies who are literally my world. Ace, my little chihuahua, and Blue, my French bulldog. Now you guys probably don't know this, but last year Ace actually got diagnosed with IVDD after several terrifying flare-ups that happened here at home. Now I told you guys last year on my second channel that one of the things I was so fortunate about during that entire experience was the fact that my dog's vet is actually my aunt. So I was able to reach out to her multiple times throughout Ace's first flare-up to decide if it was really worth it for him to go into the vet because he is a rescue and going into the vet is incredibly traumatic for him. After I shared my experience with you guys, so many of you told me how much you wish that you had access to a vet 24/7 to ask questions and find out whether or not it's worth it to make a vet visit or if there's other things that you can do. And that is why I am so excited to share Pop with you guys. Pop is a membership crafted by fellow pet parents. A first of its kind digital clinic for pets, offering comprehensive chat and video vet consultations. Pet parents can connect within minutes to licensed vets 24/7. And one Pop plan protects up to 6 pets in one household at no additional cost. Unlike traditional pet insurance, a Pop membership includes full access to the digital clinic and an emergency fund of up to $3,000, regardless of your pet's breed, age, location, or pre-existing conditions. All for just $19 a month. Pop doesn't replace your primary vet, but rather helps pet parents avoid unnecessary vet visits and costs. Pop acts as a more affordable, accessible, and simpler pet insurance. So make sure you guys click the link down in my description box to get 20% off of your Pop membership. That's just $15 for your first month. And thank you so much to Pop for sponsoring today's video. So with that being said, let's get into 3 terrifying home invasion encounters. The first one is called The Man in My Room, which already freaks me out just reading that, but let's get into it. This story takes place during my time in college. I had just gotten a new apartment to share with a new roommate, and we couldn't have been more excited. We had both gotten into pretty serious relationships the year prior, and were excited to have a place with more space this particular year. After meeting her a few times, she seemed really sweet and it felt like the right move to share a place with her. The apartment that we were sharing wasn't on campus, but was exceptionally close. Our place was a 2-bedroom, ground-level apartment. It wasn't anything special, but it was our first taste of freedom, new exciting relationships, our own space, and what felt like the world at our fingertips. We felt like it was the start of a new friendship with one another and amazing memories. We got along exceptionally well and had very little rules to our place. One of the rules that we always made sure to apply, though, was if our boyfriends were sleeping over, we were to put our little sign on our bedroom doorknobs so we knew and could give the according space to each other. We were just getting to know each other, and this was one easy way to give a sign to each other without things being super weird. You might think this is unrelated to the story, but trust me, you'll understand my oversharing soon. Anyways, our system worked out well. If I got home late and noticed her little signal on her door, I'd throw in some headphones, make myself some food, and retire to my room to watch a movie or study, and vice versa. It saved us from any awkward moments or hearing things we couldn't unhear. For the first little while, living together was perfect. I never felt unsafe or uneasy in our space. We got along, and even our boyfriends got along really well too. But one night, something would happen that haunts me to this day. My boyfriend and I had just left a late dinner and a movie and decided to head back to my place. It was an odd occasion that he could actually spend the night sleeping over with me because he often had things to do really early in the morning. So I was very excited that he was going to be spending the night. When we got into my place, the lights were off and it was quiet. I checked over on my roommate's door to see if her boyfriend was there, but her door was closed and there was no signal. I assumed she was just asleep. My boyfriend and I had a glass of wine and headed to my room to watch a movie. A little while later, we'd both fallen asleep. After a few hours, I woke up to a bang, followed by the shadow of a man walking into my room. At first, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. After realizing I wasn't dreaming, I shot up and screamed, which woke my boyfriend up. The man immediately ran out of the room and straight out of my apartment. My boyfriend went running out after him. It felt like time stood still. After what felt like hours, my boyfriend came back in with a confused look on his face. The man said he was sleeping with my roommate and must have made his way into the wrong room when going to say goodbye to her after using the bathroom. I was confused. I didn't know what to think at all, but figured since it was late, what my roommate had been doing that night was none of my business. We locked the door and decided to head back to bed, but I couldn't shake this weird feeling. What made me most unsettled was she hadn't even put her signal on the door, and I couldn't figure out who that man was because it wasn't her boyfriend. The next day, things would take a disturbing turn. My roommate would return home from a night at her boyfriend's house. When I told her what had happened, she looked like she'd seen a ghost. Her and her boyfriend explained their entire night, and they hadn't returned home. She hadn't even been in the apartment, let alone with that strange man. We reported the incident to the police and even checked out the building's footage. No one could identify the man. All I can think about to this day is what would have happened if my boyfriend hadn't been there with me that night. Remember, he rarely ever slept there. I don't even want to think about it. Oh, and to this day, we have no idea how he even got in. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I would not want to live there anymore. If that happened to me and it truly wasn't someone that was with my roommate and she was actually with her boyfriend that night, she ended up waltzing in, she was never there, and this strange man had gotten in and they have no idea how, that would literally haunt me. Like, that gives me goosebumps. Stories like this are exceptionally eerie because it's open to the imagination as to what could have happened. Like, did he maybe stumble into the wrong apartment? Why would he lie then and say that he was supposed to be with her roommate? And where my mind kind of wanders with this one is, did he know that the roommate was somewhere else and think that she was going to be alone in her bedroom? Oof. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of that one, because that just leaves too much to the imagination. It's like there's not much to go off of, but it is very strange that he went into the apartment. This next one is called Your Dad Sent Me, and that's in quotations. When I was 12 years old, my parents got divorced. I remember this being one of the hardest times in my life, having to switch school pickups depending on the week and having to divide the holidays. I remember wishing that both my parents could be at my sports games or even just in the same room as each other again. But their divorce didn't end so well. Because my mom was a single mom and a single income household now, she ended up picking up any shifts that she could. Sometimes her friends or even my own family members would pick me up from school. But my mom always told me when this would happen. Even though we lived in a small, safe town, my mom felt that it was important. I could still hear her clear as day. You don't get into the car or leave with anyone that we haven't told you will be coming to get you, ever. Basically, I was taught pretty young about strangers, and it's a damn good thing I was, because I believe it saved my life. It was summer, and I was away at my dad's for 1 week. the longest I've been away from my mom. My dad was doing everything he could to make sure I was comfortable in his new place and having fun. One day, I was playing outside in my dad's backyard when he came outside with a funny look on his face. He rambled on about how something had broken in the house and he needed to run to the store up the road to get a part to fix it. I looked at him sad. I was having so much fun. Reluctant and realizing he'd be back in 20 minutes max, my dad said I could stay at home if I went inside until he got back. Don't come for him, I was turning 13 soon. So I did. I followed him through the back and he headed out the front. For the first 10 minutes I watched TV but got bored of that pretty quick. I don't know what made me decide what I did next, but I decided to go to my room to play with some toys I had up there. My bedroom window faced the side of the house where the fence gate is, by the way. After a while of being upstairs, I was sitting on my bedroom floor when I heard a weird noise outside. At first I ignored it, but when the second noise came after, I got up to check it out. I saw a woman slowly walking into our backyard and looking around. I'd never seen her before. I stood there still, watching her disappear around the back of the house. I kept listening quietly. Then I heard another noise, and I just knew. Immediately, like every fiber of my body was screaming out a warning, I remembered that when I followed my dad in, I didn't lock the back door, and whoever this woman was now inside of the house. I panicked and didn't know what to do. Without thinking much, I jumped underneath my bed and tried not to make a sound. The woman started saying things like, "Sweetheart, your parents sent me here to pick you up. We're going to meet your dad in town." And, "Where are you? Honey, don't be scared. Your dad knows I'm here." I stayed quiet. After a little while, I heard the woman leave, but didn't get out from under my bed until my dad was home. My dad had not told that woman to come and get me. Based off what I told him, he had no idea who she even was. There was a police investigation, and in the end, no leads, and my family never found out who that woman was or what would have happened if I'd have listened to her. Now that I'm older, what creeps me out the most is that this woman knew my dad had went into town and that I was there. Either way, I wasn't allowed to stay home alone again for a very long time. Okay, so that story really reminds me of the story that I shared with you guys where my mom's ex broke into our home while I was home alone, and I literally hid inside of my mom's closet that he would open the closet door for, like, ooh. So I know that that story doesn't sound that creepy, but if you put yourself into that child's shoes, it's incredibly terrifying. And what's even creepier is, like that child said, what would have happened? And how did that woman know that she was in there and that the dad had went into town? That whole story is really creepy. What do you guys think? Like, what do you think could have happened there? I'm so curious to hear your thoughts and opinions. And the final story is called, I Should Have Believed Him. This story happened about 3 years ago, and to this day, I'm not over it. I'm sharing this story in hopes that any other parents who may think their babies have an overactive imagination dig a little deeper. My husband and I only have our one son, Dean. When this took place, my husband had gotten a significant raise and we were finally able to buy our own home. It was a cozy home settled in a quiet neighborhood, and we finally felt like we had a real home. All of us, but Dean. Dean had just turned 6 and had spent his entire life in our tiny 2-bedroom apartment. Though it was small, my husband and I made it our personal mission to make it a space that Dean could grow happily in. I guess we never imagined how hard it would be for him to leave a space we made feel so safe. Our hope was that Dean could someday grow to love our new home just as much as the apartment we had left. But we knew that it would take time, and we were willing to work with him. So when Dean started having nightmares of a man peering into his bedroom window the second night in, we did our very best to calm him. I remember laying in bed with my husband, asking why Dean was suddenly having these types of nightmares. My husband told me how he thought it could be because the house was new and Dean's window used to overlook a city, but now it looked into a yard, so maybe that made him feel afraid. And that made sense to me. So the next time Dean called me in about the man in his window, I did my best to assure him of how safe he was. But Dean would spend time out of every night of our first week there telling us how this man scared him by looking in at him from outside of his window. So the next day, we decided to go and get Dean thicker curtains for his window to help him feel safer. For the first few nights with the new curtains, Dean seemed to be doing so much better. We thought it had finally done the trick. One morning over breakfast, I decided to ask Dean if the curtains worked. Dean said yes, but then went on to say that the man was actually very nice. I was confused, but also glad that he seemed to be adjusting better to the new house. Dean had always had a very, very crazy imagination. A month after living in our new home, I woke up hearing a noise from the front of the house. It almost sounded like a rattling door. I immediately woke up my husband to ask if he heard that too. We both sat in silence for a moment, just listening, until I heard it again, the shaking of a door. We both jumped out of bed and went running to the front of the house. There was Dean at the front door trying to get it open. He couldn't open the door because we had a higher lock at the top of the door for added security and safety that Dean couldn't reach. Panicked, we asked Dean what he thought he was doing trying to open the door in the middle of the night. He said that the man had asked him to. Confused, I asked him what man, to which he responded, the man from my window. We didn't know what to believe as we hadn't seen a man in the door when we got there, but something felt very off. The next day, we had cameras installed to the front of our home. To our absolute disgust, after reviewing the footage the following day, we saw a man creeping onto our property until he saw the camera and then running off. We called the police and in the end, they were able to catch the man. The man claimed that he had stumbled towards the wrong house and when he realized, he'd left our property. The police did ask Dean if this was the man he had seen who had asked him to let him in, but Dean couldn't be sure, and because of lack of evidence, it was all thrown out. Dean hasn't seen the man since, but something about the whole thing has never felt right to me. I've spent the last 3 years feeling terrible for not believing Dean, and I will spend forever wondering what would have happened if we hadn't had the second lock at the top of our door and Dean had opened it without any trouble. And that's the end of that experience. What do you guys think of that one? A big part of me is leaning towards the fact that maybe there was a man who noticed a child there who, I don't know what his intentions were, but it's very strange that a child of that age would say they saw a man out their window and then would go to try to open a door, claiming the man wanted him to open it if it weren't true. And the fact that they did capture a man coming onto their property makes it all the more eerie. I mean, it wouldn't be far-fetched that Dean wouldn't be able to identify the man if the man had been outside in the dark the whole time. But I want to know what you guys think of that experience, because that is creepy. That one's not necessarily a home invasion encounter, but it is really eerie because it was almost a home invasion. And it's like, what was this man's motive in trying to get the child to open the door? Was he gonna take Dean, or was he gonna come inside the house? Was Dean his way in? I want to know your guys' thoughts on this because you guys always have the best theories, but that is basically it for today's video. Once again, I would just love to thank Pop for sponsoring today's video. As I mentioned, I will have a link down in my description box for you guys to receive 20% off your Pop membership. That is just $15 for your first month, so thank you so much to Pop for sponsoring this video. If you guys are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my content, I would seriously love it more than you will ever know if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button, and please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness, and until next time, I love you guys.